Hi, I'm Andy Hickson.
And I'm Kyra Petty.
And we just wanted to make a quick video for all of our awesome kiddos that are going to camp and their parents or guardians so they can be prepared.
All right, so our camp staff and volunteers for the Meigs County group is, of course, Miss Andy and I. And then we have 3 awesome adult leaders and 2 teen leaders that are going with us as well from the community.
All right, so our camp expectations, the number one thing we want is for every camper to have fun. So we're going to talk through a couple things that will hopefully make that an easy expectation for them to meet.
So we want to set them up for success. So some tips to help your camper have a great week. We want to make sure that they get a really good night's rest the Sunday night before we leave for camp. That way they're rested and ready to go for the next day.
All right, we also want to plan for a successful drop-off. So this may be harsh, but we want to say that if you think someone might cry during camp drop-off, maybe that person stays home. And the reason we say that is in their development at this age, if they see an adult or loved one crying, that may cause some undue anxiety, and then they may be worried all week that that person was sad and feel like they're worried about them instead of focusing on them having fun, which is what we want them to do.
Yes. And then remind your camper too, if they do have an issue while they're at camp, whether that be a little homesickness or any other issue, to come let one of their leaders from Meigs County know, preferably Miss Andy or I. But our goal is to resolve problems while we're at camp. And once we get home, it's a little bit more difficult to get information and resolve those issues if there are any.
So daily schedule. So if you want to talk to your campers a little bit about this schedule, it will be close to what it was during school. So hopefully they haven't been sleeping in too much during summer, but our goal will be to wake up around 7 a.m. every day. We have a flag raising at 7:30 each morning, and then they get to have breakfast. Then they do some morning activities, and while that's going on, there will be cabin inspections, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like in just a second. And then each evening we do a flag lowering, and we give out some awards, and then we have dinner, and then there's some different activities that happen each evening. But we do ask you to kind of coach your camper to be ready to look for the big schedule. It will be huge. They won't be able to miss it. That will be by the dining hall. And we are going to review that schedule with them each night at our county meetings so they kind of know what to expect the next day. But there's some activities that only happen one day, and so we want to coach the kids to look for that schedule. That way they don't miss the one thing that they really wanted to do if maybe it's only offered on like Tuesday. So that's why the schedule is so important.
Yep, so we'll have some different evening activities that, like Miss Andy said, are just on certain days. So for instance, on Monday evening, we have a fishing tournament. They do have to sign up to participate in that fishing tournament. So when we get there to camp, make sure they're looking at that schedule and find that sign-up sheet so that they can participate in that if that's something that they would like to do. On Tuesday, we'll have a little bit of free play, and we'll also have a campfire where we'll have some campfire songs and a sing-along to enjoy. Wednesday evening, we have a recreation extravaganza, and Thursday, we have a Western disco party. So we'll put on our decorations and have fun at the Western disco party.
Yes, so the dress for that is kind of, it can be a mixture of Western and disco, so like jeans would be great, jean shorts, a little bit of flair, a little bit of disco, but if kids want to lean more Western, that's okay too. And if this is not interesting your camper at all, that's okay because there will be a pool party on Thursday night as well, or a movie that they can watch. So.
All right, so we do have some cabin responsibilities for our campers each and every day. Like Miss Andy mentioned earlier, we do have cabin inspections. And so we do ask that our cabin is, nice and neat. And so that includes making our beds daily, making sure the bathrooms are clean and tidy. That way when those inspections do happen, that everything is in good shape. There is a little bit of an incentive for nice, clean cabins. And so there are some folks that go around, inspect them, and when they finish inspecting them, the best scoring cabin gets to go first at lunch and dinner. And so there will be an opportunity for them to get some prizes, aka food faster,
yes,
for making sure that cabin's clean.
Yes, and then one evening or one day of camp, I think it's Tuesday for us, it will be our job to help clean the dining hall. So you can tell your campers they might have to sweep, they might have to wash tables, but Miss Kyra and I keep a secret. If they know how to sweep and stuff, we don't let you know. Sorry, parents and guardians. We do want to talk just for a minute about participation and behavior expectations. So one thing that we like to make sure campers know is that they do not get to stay in the cabins all day. So once we kind of leave for breakfast, the only other time we'll be back to go back to our cabin is if they needed to change clothes for the pool or after the pool. And then there is a little bit of time in the afternoon called rest and relaxation where they can kind of be in their bunks and kind of get rejuvenated for the day. But aside from that, we are not in the cabins during the day. So that we like to just let them know that's not going to be the expectation. They do need to participate in all the activities. So if they're supposed to be somewhere, that is the expectation that they are there and participate as much or as little as they want once they get there. But we do want them to try new things and learn a lot of cool stuff at camp. What about language, Miss Kyra?
So we do say no foul language. We want to make sure that all of our campers are being kind to one another. We're at camp to have fun, and nobody really likes to hear negative language or any sort of bullying going on. So we do have a no tolerance policy for any form of bullying. And then we also say, sometimes we bring things to camp and they go missing. So we want to make sure that we are only touching our own things and belongings, that we're not messing with anybody else's. We don't want anything going missing or potentially getting stolen, which we don't think our kids are going to have a problem with, but just in case.
Yes. Another big expectation is that the boys only go in the boys' cabins and the girls only go in the girls' cabins. We can't really think of a reason why they would need to, but if they needed to find, maybe a friend of theirs lost something, we would encourage them to find that cabin's adult leader and give it to them instead of trying to walk in and give it to the camper themselves. And then Miss Kyra loves this rule, so she's going to talk about this one.
Yes, so we do have a lot of paved pathways at camp, and I'm a clumsy one, so sometimes if I'm moving a little quick, I might trip and fall. So we do say no running on any of the camp pathways. Once they're in the grass and they're out playing, of course, they're there to have fun. But when they're on those paved walkways, we do ask that they do walk.
Yes, and there's quite a few places at camp that are on a big hill. So if they're running and they trip, that could
lead to a tumble.
And then maybe a trip to first aid. And if our goal is to be having fun and swimming and things like that, trip to first aid, we just want to skip that. So we're going to walk on the pathways.
Yes. All right, so we do have our awesome pool and a lake. So there are a couple things we want to touch on for those water safety measures. So we do have a swim test on Monday. It is on Monday only. So when we get to camp, they'll have a specific time which they can go down to the pool and take the swim test. The lifeguards are there and they make sure everyone stays very safe. Once they finish their swim test, they'll get a wristband of a certain color, and that lets us as well as lifeguards know if they are eligible to use the diving board and be in the deep end or not. If they aren't and they'd like to learn how to swim a little bit better, we do have swim lessons throughout the week. But please remind your campers that Monday is the only time they take that swim test, and if they miss it, then they're not able to jump off that diving board. So if they really want to, or they think they might get to a point in the week that they would like to, make sure they take that swim test on Monday morning. So
yes, and if they are not great swimmers, don't think that they won't have a great time at the pool. Most of the pool, I'd say 70 to 80% is about 4 feet, so all the campers should be able to just stand up and enjoy that. That is where most of the kids hang out anyway. And then they are able to go off the slide even if they haven't done that, because it empties into that shallow section. We do want to ease some parent and guardian minds. The pool is probably the most heavily monitored section of camp. So we have at least 6 adults in chairs that are very strategically placed around the pool, in addition to 3 full-time lifeguards. So there's at least 9 adults watching the pool at all times. And then if they were to go down to like the lake area, they do have to wear life jackets if they want to try the canoes or the kayaks. So we do like to make sure that you all know that your kid being near water is one of our top safety priorities.
Yes, and at the lake, they are wearing that life jacket, but they are not swimming in the lake. The pool is the only place they get to swim. So the life jacket is just a preventative measure in case they do end up in the lake with a flipped canoe or kayak, but have no fear, they've got those life jackets, and there are adults and a lifeguard there as well.
All right, so we do want to talk, while we're talking about safety, a few other things. We will do a fire drill at camp on Monday after everyone kind of has lunch and gets settled, so everyone knows how we would handle that type of emergency. We do have some other emergency plans that we go over with all of our teen and adult leaders, so everyone on that side kind of knows what we would do in different cases of an emergency. And then we also want to talk about safety regarding medication. So that is why we ask that all medications that kids need to take while they're at camp are in their original containers that would have the dosage amount, all of those things, so that our camp first aid team and our camp nurse gives those medications correctly. And just to be extra cautious, what happens with those meds, Miss Kyra?
So when we get to camp, we will take all those medications and they go straight to the nurse's station where they are logged, and they are only ever administered by that first aid team and the nurse. And so they have a wonderful cabinet, and then it locks, and so each camper has a number. Their medication goes in a bin with that number on it, to avoid potentially, getting the wrong medication to the wrong camper. So it is a very streamlined process that takes your camper's safety and health to the top priority.
Yes, and we do want to have you also back us up and let your camper know that if they do take a daily medication, to be expecting to be called to the nurse's station to get that medication either around breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So especially if they take night meds, if you can help give them tips to remember to stop by after dinner, first aid would really appreciate that.
Yes. We do have those help forms. Those are the 600-day forms that I think most, if not everyone, has already turned in. So good job, you guys. With signatures, photo, and insurance cards that are required. Again, that is just so that we have all the information to take care of your camper the best that we possibly can. Should there be a situation that arises that we need that information, we have it, so that they can stay as healthy and safe and happy as possible. On Monday, we, are leaving for camp, but on Saturday, we have an awesome person in our community. Her name is English Roberts, and she has decided that she will open up her clinic, the Restoration Clinic, from 10 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 7th for a lice check. So we do have to check all the campers before we leave for lice. We highly, highly encourage that you take this opportunity to go do that early. That way, if there is an instance where your child does have lice, they can get that treated so your kiddo can be on to camp on Monday. If you choose to wait for Monday, that's okay. She'll be there as well, if not everyone has gone. But in the instance that lice is present that day, that will have to be treated, and then a separate transportation plan would have to be arranged for your kiddo to get to camp once that's treated.
Yes, so we appreciate her doing that. We appreciate you all hopefully taking advantage of that. We did plan that in conjunction with the Touch a Truck event that will be going on over near the Meigs County Fairgrounds. So hopefully you guys can get out and make that a fun little activity, and that's just a stop along the way. But we do highly encourage you to take advantage of that, especially for maybe our girl parents and guardians, because a lot of you all like to send them off with nice braids and stuff. But if you do that and you haven't done the lice check, English may have to ask those braids be taken out to do the lice check on Monday. So that's another reason. Get those good hairstyles going to camp on Monday morning. So.
All right, so we do have specific color groups that our kids are broken up into. I think all of our Meigs County kids are in the same color group, so they'll get to hang out with all of their friends, but they'll also get to mingle with some other counties as well. Those color groups are used for sessions, so it'll help the kiddos know where they're supposed to be and when. We are in the green color group, so green for 4-H might help them remember that. And so they'll know, be able to look at their schedule, know their color, and figure out where they're supposed to be every day on that schedule. And then we will hand out t-shirts, our camp t-shirts, on Wednesday evening, and they'll be able to wear those on Thursday. We want all campers to wear their t-shirt on Thursday so we can get a really awesome group picture with everybody in it.
And wink, wink, nod, nod. There may be something on the shirt that goes really great with our Western disco theme. Yeah. So if they don't have anything else to pack, that t-shirt will have them in theme and ready to go. So while we're talking about t-shirts and things, let's just go ahead and talk about dress code. T-shirts and shorts are kind of recommended. It is typically mid-80s, lows in the 70s when we're at camp, and so a t-shirt's great, kind of covers those shoulders and it helps avoid sunburns. We do need to wear shoes at all times. The only time the campers would not be wearing shoes is when they're maybe in their cabins at night getting ready for bed, and then once they're actually in the pool and swimming. But aside from that, we need to wear shoes all the time. We normally recommend at least 2 pairs of shoes, maybe a good pair of tennis shoes that the kids have worn before. Not the best week to break in new tennis shoes, and then maybe like some sort of sandal that could go in the shower or easily down to the pool and dries quick. So like a flip-flop or even a pair of Crocs is great, because you sometimes might need to throw them in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
We do allow campers to wear hats. The only time they can't wear hats is in the cafeteria. They do need to take those off. So if you can let your campers know to expect that, then we won't get the "what? I gotta take my hat off" reaction when we go in there. And that's just a form of respect that we show to the cafeteria. And we normally have just done our flag raising ceremony and things like that. Last piece that we like to mention during dress code is about cover-ups. We don't need to just walk around camp in our bathing suits when it's time to go to the pool. So if they can wear a cover-up that covers kind of the bathing suit zone, that would be great. Another thing about bathing suits that we get from normally our female camper parents and guardians is what kind of bathing suit should our campers wear. We highly recommend a one-piece because they might be going off the diving board or going down the slide. The number one thing to avoid is anything with a string that could come unattached and lead to a wardrobe malfunction. So like you said, we need to wear cover-ups, and one pieces are recommended for our female campers. So there's that.
All right, so speaking of all the things that we need to bring to camp, as far as our packing list goes, hopefully you received that in your packet that was sent home. But just in case, they do need to bring some form of bedding, so that could be twin sheets or a sleeping bag. If they bring a set of twin sheets, they might want to bring, a pillow and blanket as well. And then, of course, their clothes for the week, toiletries, their swimsuit. And then campers may want to bring a flashlight. We highly recommend sunscreen and bug spray. Highly recommend sunscreen and bug spray. And then we've already talked about shoes, the shower shoes, flip-flops, maybe some tennis shoes as well. But make sure they also bring a towel, one for the pool and one for taking a shower as well. So those are some things that you might want to watch out for when you're packing to remember. And make sure that the students know what is packed. That way, if they're not doing their own packing, they still know what their stuff looks like. That helps with, not getting confused about what is whose and where it belongs. So.
Yeah, and you don't need to go out and buy like brand new clothes and things to take to camp. Kind of stuff that they, as long as it fits, is good. If there is something you really, really want to make sure they get back, it's not a bad idea to take a Sharpie, write their names, especially like on those towel tags, things like that. In those, we will have a clothesline where kiddos can take their stuff and kind of put it outside to dry. We did run into some evening thunderstorms last year, and so we did try to coach them, like if we think it's going to rain, make sure you take your stuff in at night, because damp and soaking wet are different, and so we did try to coach them on that. So, but again, that's a good reason why to take the 2 towels, so they can kind of have one drying at all times. So great tip, Miss Kyra. All right, things not to bring. So we do want to focus on what Miss Kyra just said to bring, and everything that's on that packing list. There are some things we definitely want to leave at home, and we did talk to the campers about all of this when we talked about camp back in their school club meetings. But we're going to leave cell phones at home. We know it's hard to have your kiddo leave. Miss Kyra and I will have our phones the whole time if you needed to get a hold of us, but the kiddos do not need to bring cell phones. The Wi-Fi's not that great at camp, and there's no way that all 400 campers could keep a cell phone charged and things like that. And we don't want anything to get lost or misplaced or accidentally messed up with someone else, because again, if we're dealing with electronic drama, we're not getting to do all those fun things like swim and make new friends and stuff like that. We're also going to leave weapons, fireworks, food, gum, jewelry, and electronics at home. We know some kids have an attachment to maybe a piece of jewelry or something, but that is something we want to leave at home, especially if it's irreplaceable. But maybe grandma had another bracelet or something that you could switch out for something if they really, really feel like they just need a memento. But we're just going to streamline things, make it easy as possible. The less belongings they have, the easier for everybody to keep up with their stuff. So you are our best chance at having a good bag of things go to camp. So we appreciate you being so diligent when helping your 4-H'er pack for camp.
Absolutely. All right, so we do have a camp bank. So if you would like to, you may send roughly $20 to $40 extra with your camper. What happens with that money is when we leave on Monday, we will put it in an envelope. It has that camper's name on it, and it actually has a little slip on the back where they are going to get to learn a little bit about the banking process. So they can withdraw their money if they'd like to purchase things from the concession stand or to participate in some of the activities that might cost $1 or $2. And then whatever they don't spend at the end of each day, they can actually deposit that back into their camp bank. So they do have to sign for that, and we'll work through the math with them as well as, what their balance remaining is. But we would love for you to encourage your campers not to spend all of that extra money on the first day. A lot of kids get excited and they want to go spend that money, and we get it. But, if we get into Thursday and Friday, they might not have, enough left over to do all the things that they would like to do. Another big thing with that is they are probably going to want to spend some money on snacks and drinks from the concession stand or the canteen. We encourage that. However, we cannot take any of those items back into the cabins at night. So please also encourage them not to overspend on concessions because once we reach the end of that night, it can't go in with us. So they either got to eat it or, get rid of it. So that helps us prevent ants and other kinds of, insects and bugs getting in those cabins. So it's just a good rule of thumb. So
yes, and a lot of the activities will take what are called tokens. You should have received a canteen list that kind of tells you the prices for everything. So you may want to look at that with your camper and help them decide what they're going to want to do, so they know, okay, I wanted to spend 8 tokens on tie-dye and stuff like that, so they can kind of help budget their money there. But also, we won't want them to turn all that money into the tokens until like they're about to do that activity, because once they exchange their money for a token, they can't exchange it back. So that's why we kind of like on a daily as needed basis with our camp fund. So we again appreciate you taking the time to talk to your 4-H'er about that. And in terms of the camp bank, it will be located with either one of our adult or teen leaders or Miss Kyra and I. So we'll kind of tell them who's running the camp bank each day and who to look for. But again, we will also give them neck wallets. And so that's kind of where we encourage them to keep whatever money they check out for that day. There's a zipped inside section of their neck wallet that they can keep. But again, we want to be mindful, and unfortunately, if they lose their money, that's kind of it. I mean, Miss Kyra and I can try to help kind of find it, but normally those mysteries do go unsolved. So again, that's a reason why we only want to take out the money that we need for that day's activities. So there's that. All right, we are almost done. Thank you so much, parents, for sticking with us. So a couple other parental guidelines is writing letters is much better than calling. And I know that sounds weird, but if you call the camp office, they're going to have to try to find one of us on the campground. And sometimes we are very, very far away, and you probably don't want to be standing on hold for a long, long time. So if you do need to reach Miss Kyra or I, using the Remind app that we're going to tell you about in just a minute is a much faster way. We can give you the address for camp if you do want to write letters. Another thing I would encourage, instead of sending them actually to camp, especially if you know that maybe you've got a 4th grader or your camper hasn't been away from home very much, is just maybe writing them a daily letter and putting them maybe in an envelope inside of their actual bag. And then during our rest and relaxation time, that might be a good activity that they can sit in their bunk and read maybe a letter from home, and that might be a real comfort to them. So definitely mailing letters over calling, just because it'll be a little easier and a quicker message for us to get to your camper. So thank you. Miss Kyra, you want to tell them about the bus?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we leave on Monday morning. We will be departing from the Meigs County Fairgrounds, and we ask that you arrive by 7:30. We have to get all of the campers and their luggage, loaded on the bus and loaded in the trailer to head to camp. And we are going to do our very, very best to be pulling out at 8 a.m. So if you are there by 7:30, that will help it go a lot smoother, so we can get their stuff in and get on the road at a reasonable time. That way that they can get to camp and start having fun. And so we're super excited. We have a Meigs County bus driver that's going to be driving the bus. So we're very thankful for that partnership as well, for them to offer to do that. And then we'll be returning on Friday, June 13th, between noon and 1. And so again, we'll have a bus drive them back, and they will be available for you to pick them up back at the Meigs County Fairgrounds on Friday.
Yes, and parents and guardians, rest assured, we let you know as soon as your campers make it to camp. We send out a message through our Remind app, and then when we are leaving camp on Friday morning, we let you know what time we've left and our expected ETA.
Yes.
Please make sure your camper has breakfast on Monday morning, because it's a 2.5-hour bus ride, so you can do the math. We won't get there till about 10:30, and so if they don't have something to eat before breakfast, they will be pretty hungry. And then they will eat breakfast before we leave camp on Friday, and they will probably be begging you to eat lunch the minute you pick them up Friday afternoon. So.
Yes. And in addition to the bus on Friday, on our Facebook page, Miss Penny here at the office will keep track of kind of our route and where we're at. And so she'll post updates as far as, where we're at. So if we do get stuck in a little bit of Knoxville traffic, you'll at least know kind of if that estimated time of arrival has changed by checking the Facebook page.
Yes. So awesome. Thank you for that reminder, Miss Kyra. Okay, so speaking of staying in touch with you all, we do have a Remind app that has been started, and I think almost over half of our parents and guardians that have a camper going to camp have joined, so we appreciate you doing that. The Remind is a free app that lets us communicate with you all in a group setting and also send individual messages. So again, if you needed to reach Miss Kyra or I, you could directly message us, and it'll kind of work like a text message. We'll get that right away. We can also send you all pictures of your campers and things like that, and little reminders throughout the week. So we highly encourage you to join that. It is a great way for us to stay in touch with you, and if anything changes, we can send out those announcements. So please join. I think Miss Kyra is going to try to add a QR link here on this video. If not, there should be one on the letter that you received in the mail from us with your camp packet. So if you have any questions or you didn't get that or need help walking through that, please let Miss Kyra and I know.
Yep, so just a couple final tips as we wrap up our video. Please include your camper as you are packing for camp. Like we mentioned earlier, it's very helpful when they know what they have at camp. So make sure they're included in that. And then Miss Andy made a comment about maybe writing, their name in Sharpie on some items. Please make sure that that is for sure on all of their luggage and any of their bigger items. And then if you'd like to, t-shirt tags and towel tags as well. And then just a final little encouragement we want to give to you is that your campers are going off for a fun week, right? And we know that's a little nerve-wracking at times for you guys, but we ask that you please encourage them to be independent, make new friends, try new things, and learn a little bit of responsibility while we're at camp. We're going to have a great week, and we're super excited to spend the week with your kiddos.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and to encourage that responsibility on our end, we will have a daily check sheet that your camper has that has things on there like, did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your hair? Did you take a shower? Some of them will try to tell us that their trip to the pool counted as a shower, and we will just kind of go, we're still going to take a shower. So just you might want to let them know that also will be part of that responsibility expectation. But we're so excited to take your kiddo to camp. We hope they make a week full of wonderful memories. We are looking forward to making memories as well. So we will see you all on Monday, June 9th. And please call our office at 423-334-5781 if you have any questions that we did not answer in this video. And if you are still watching this, thank you for sticking with us.
Yes.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.